The Commoderizer is a patented system designed for seawater toilets. It eliminates stinky head odor and plumbing calcium with each flush. In the next few minutes, I'll demonstrate just how easy it is to install and maintain. I'll also discuss plumbing, pump issues, and maintenance. Each section has a title page so you can easily fast forward to the desired section. Installation. The Commoderizer is designed to fit onto the base of the Jabsco inline strainer on the supply side of the pump. In most cases, the strainer is already mounted in the plumbing line. Ideally, the strainer should be several feet downstream from the pump. At present, there are two styles of Commoderizer, A and B. They function the same way. The only difference is the strainer required for mounting. The A style requires the Jabsco 36200-0000 strainer. The B style requires the 46200 or 46400-0000 strainer. For this video, we'll be showing the B style. If the strainer is mounted on the pump or just inches from the pump, be sure to watch the plumbing and pump section later in this video. Before installation, make sure the seacock is closed. Also, make sure the arrow on the strainer base points in the direction of the pump. If the arrow on the strainer base points away from the pump, water won't flow through the Commoderizer. If you can't see the arrow, it's probably on the bottom of the strainer. In any case, the arrow needs to point in the direction of the pump. If it doesn't, the strainer needs to be flipped so the arrow points toward the pump. Depending on the strainer orientation, the Commoderizer can be installed either horizontally or vertically. If mounted in a vertical position, the cap should be down, not up. If the cap is up, an air pocket could form in the cap, preventing the water from mixing with the chlorine tablet. It's also important to anchor the strainer using the provided screw holes. This prevents the barbs from being stressed and possibly broken. To install the Commoderizer, simply remove the strainer bowl and screen from the inline strainer. Then screw on the Commoderizer body. Next, place a tablet in the cap. Notice that the tablets are individually wrapped and come in a jar with a lid seal. This eliminates the chlorine smell from escaping. Very lightly tighten the cap onto the Commoderizer body. Very little force is required to make the seal. You only need to use your thumb and forefinger. Make sure to keep the cap O-ring as well as the Jabsco strainer O-ring lubricated with a coating of silicone grease. Excessive tightening will make it difficult to remove the cap. If the cap gets stuck to the body, a rubber strap wrench is the best method for removal. Using a pipe wrench or channel locks can damage the unit. If your Commoderizer unit looks like this, it has a different O-ring design and over-tightening is less of a problem. Tighten the cap until it lightly snugs against the limiter. Don't over-tighten. The Commoderizer is now installed. Open the seacock, check for leaks, and enjoy a sweet-smelling boat. Commoderizer components. These are the various components of the Commoderizer unit. The cap holds the tablet. The limiter controls the amount of chlorine solution released into the plumbing lines. The limiter snaps onto the body. Inside the body, there's a filter to catch debris. The filter is held in place with the return water tube. Inside the water tube, there's a check valve that limits the chlorine stream going to the pump except during the flush cycle. During the flush cycle, incoming water flows around the outside of the water tube. If debris is present, it's called in the strainer. The water then mixes with the chlorine solution from the cap and exits through the return water tube and check valve and then to the pump and toilet. The last item is the safety stickers. Since the tablets have chlorine, it's very important that no other chemicals are added to the Commoderizer unit or toilet. First of all, you won't need them, which saves money. And secondly, mixing chemicals with chlorine is dangerous. These stickers should be placed near the Commoderizer unit and toilet to alert cleaning personnel against adding other cleaning chemicals. Plumbing and pumps. Marine-grade hoses and fittings in good condition should be used throughout the boat's plumbing system. Nylon and brass fittings should be avoided. Chlorine degrades nylon and brass. In addition, aluminum can be problematic. Once common aluminum holding tanks have been largely replaced with polyethylene. As mentioned earlier, ideally the Commoderizer should be placed several feet downstream from the pump. As the chlorine mixture exits the Commoderizer, it dilutes with the water in the plumbing lines. If the Commoderizer is mounted on the pump, or just inches away, the chlorine mixture doesn't have time to dilute before it reaches the pump. With certain Jabsco Parmax pumps, for example, this can cause pump valves to warp, resulting in a loss of prime. Fortunately, there's now an easy fix. Jabsco sells valve blocks that use Viton valves. Viton is chlorine resistant. These are readily available on the internet and easy to install. We also sell them in our store. We have an instructional video in our store under the Resources tab showing how to replace the valve blocks. It's an easy replacement that should only take a few minutes. Again, this may not be a problem if the Commoderizer can be located several feet downstream from the pump. On our Leopard 46 and a test Leopard 51, we never saw a problem. In those cases, the strainer was located about 5 feet or so from the pump. This doesn't seem to be as much of a problem with manual pumps. Manual pumps, such as the Jabsco, use a large O-ring. If you need to replace the O-ring, it would be a good idea to replace it with a Viton O-ring. General maintenance. The Commoderizer is designed to be as trouble-free as possible and requires very little maintenance. The main components are made from PVC. The O-rings are chlorine-resistant Viton. The check valve spring is made from Hastelloy. The filters are made from polypropylene. All of these components are designed to resist chlorine and salt water. On a regular basis, you should apply silicone grease to the O-rings between the cap and body, the outside water tube O-ring, as well as the Jabsco strainer O-ring. We carry replacement O-rings and filters in our store. Check valve maintenance. It's important to periodically examine the water tube check valve to make sure it's functioning properly. Remove the return water tube from the strainer or Commoderizer body. Depress the check valve with your finger to ensure free operation. Pour a little water in it to check for leaks. If it leaks or the O-ring looks enlarged, the O-ring needs replacing. This is a simple procedure. With the new style water tube, you can depress the assembly with your thumb to access the O-ring for replacement. A cuticle stick, toothpick, safety pin, or small screwdriver can aid in removal. If you use something metal like a screwdriver or safety pin, be careful not to scratch the O-ring seat. For older style water tubes, you will need to remove the check valve assembly. We sell an extraction and seating tool that makes this process quick and easy, or you can make your own tool with a 1/2-inch piece of PVC pipe. Place the return water tube on a flat surface with the slot end of the check valve up. Using our extraction tool, or PVC pipe, tap out the check valve with a mallet. Depress the check valve piston and remove the old O-ring. Lightly grease the check valve taper and install a new O-ring. There are also O-rings inside the water tube that hold the check valve assembly in place. If they look undamaged, apply a little grease to them and reinstall the check valve assembly in the water tube using our seating tool. Or you can make your own by cutting a 5/16 inch ring off a 1/2 inch PVC pipe. When reinstalling, make sure that the slot shows on the end of the water tube that fits in the Commoderizer. We have covered installing the Commoderizer unit as well as the different components. We've also talked about plumbing and pump issues, as well as general maintenance and check valve maintenance. For a written copy of the topics we covered, as well as FAQs and other information, check out the Resources tab in our store. Thanks for watching.